Who is piloting the UAPs or UFOs constantly seen in our skies? Where are they from? Why are they here? How long have they been here? What is their mission on planet Earth? Do they come in peace, or do they have more sinister motives? Join Mad Mark as he uncovers the answers to these questions and many more of the mysteries that puzzle us all on Who Are the Aliens? The history of the Anunnaki on planet Earth. And now, here's Mad Mark. Today's episode, Enki's own words concerning the events surrounding the bombing of Sodom and Gomorrah and the spaceport in the Sinai. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Who Are the Aliens? The history of the Anunnaki on planet Earth. And welcome to Season 2. Season 1 was a great success, and I know that Season 2 will bring more of the same as we all learn together the truth about Earth's ancient past and what really happened here thousands of years ago. I'm Mad Mark, and before I begin, just a reminder to please like, share, and comment. It helps so much. Today we begin our studies of Zecharia Sitchin's 9th book, The Lost Book of Enki, published by Simon & Schuster in 2001. Well, this is going to be an exciting string of shows beginning today as we begin to uncover the truth about the Anunnaki's experiences here on Earth straight from the mouth of an actual Anunnaki god, that being Enki. As we have uncovered on this program, the Anunnaki, specifically Enki, first arrived on our planet 450,000 years ago. The purpose? To mine gold, which they needed desperately for their planet's depleted atmosphere. They set up shop in Mesopotamia, and before long, they established a spaceport, a mission control center, mining operations in South Africa, and even a way station on Mars. Even after the devastation of the Great Flood, they rebuilt and continued on. When the working class Anunnaki, known as the Igigi, revolted due to thousands of years of strenuous work in the mines, a labor force was created utilizing their own DNA mixed with that of Homo erectus, which was the hominid that was on Earth at that time. As the years passed, this labor force, known as human beings, did most of the Anunnaki's grunt work and eventually began worshiping the Anunnaki as gods. But nothing lasts forever, and over thousands of years, the many wars between these gods took their toll. And the final straw came when the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were bombed with atomic weapons, resulting in a radiation cloud that swept over the region, resulting in the devastation of their base of operations in Sumeria, causing many of the Anunnaki to flee Earth and forcing those who remained into an existence of controlling things from the shadows, from hidden bases all over our planet. But what had taken place thousands of years earlier on Nibiru that had caused the devastation of their atmosphere, their need for gold, and the eventual creation of mankind? And what emotions, rivalries, beliefs, morals, or in some cases the lack of morals, motivated these ancient astronauts in this saga of the heavens and on Earth? What were the relationships on both Nibiru and on Earth that caused the mounting tensions between the Anunnaki? Not only between the original group that first settled here, but also the generations of Anunnaki who were born here. Was destiny involved in all of this? And do these events from our ancient past also hold the key to our own future? Where do we find the answers to these questions? Well, as we have discovered on this program, much information can be found in the ancient texts. But were there ever times where the Anunnaki themselves actually wrote about these events in their own words? Absolutely. One example of this would be Thoth's Emerald Tablets, which he wrote himself. They are an amazing work, and they're one that we will eventually cover in the future on this show. But what if we had writings from a God who not only witnessed and participated in every key moment in Earth's ancient past, but who was also a prominent figure in the events which unfolded on Nibiru before the Anunnaki ever landed here on Earth? Someone who was the firstborn son of Anu, the king of Nibiru. Someone who was an accomplished scientist. Someone who was the father of both Marduk and Ningishzida, known in Egypt Kemet as Ra and Thoth, and who shared his great knowledge with them. Someone who actually shared this secrets of the gods with selected humans as well. Someone who was not only here on Earth when these events first began, but was also here to witness the devastation of much of the Middle East when the weapons of mass destruction were used on the spaceport and Sodom and Gomorrah. Of course, I'm talking about Enki, the only Anunnaki in the council chamber to stand in opposition of the use of these devastating weapons. And it was he alone who afterwards felt the burning desire to tell his entire story and to explain to the devastated humans the facts about these ancient astronauts who had come to Earth with good intentions, but who had ended up as destroyers. So now, let's begin our journey into the autobiographical memoirs and insightful prophecies of this extraterrestrial god. Here now are the words of Endubsar, a master scribe, a son of Eridu, and a servant of Lord Enki. In the 7th year, after the great calamity, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day, I was summoned by my master, Lord Enki, great God, benevolent creator of mankind, and omnipotent and merciful. I was among the remnants of Eridu, who had escaped to the arid steppe, just as the evil wind was nearing the city. And I wandered off into the wilderness to seek withering twigs for firewood. And I looked up, and lo and behold, a whirlwind came out of the south. There was a reddish brilliance about it, and it made no sound. And as I reached the ground, 4 straight feet spread out from its belly, and the brilliance disappeared. And I threw myself to the ground and prostrated myself, for I knew it was a divine vision. And when I lifted my eyes, there were 2 divine emissaries standing near me, and they had the faces of men, and their garments sparkled like burnished brass. And they called me by name and spoke to me, saying, "You are summoned by the great God, the Lord Enki. Fear not, for you are blessed, and we are here to take you aloft and carry you to his retreat in the land of Megan." And as they spoke, the whirlwind lifted itself as a fiery chariot and was gone. And they took me by my hands, each one grasping me by one hand. And they lifted me and carried me swiftly between the earth and the heavens as the eagle soars. And I could see the land and the waters and the plains and the mountains. And they let me down on the island at the gateway of the great God's abode. And the moment that they let go of my hands, a brilliance as I have never seen before engulfed and overwhelmed me. And I collapsed on the ground as though voided by the spirit of life. My life senses returned to me as I awakened from the deepest sleep by the sound of the calling of my own name. I was in some kind of enclosure. It was dark, but there was also an aura. Then my name was called again by the deepest of voices, and, although I could hear it, I could not tell from whence the voice came, nor could I see whoever it was that spoke. And it said, "Here I am." Then the voice said to me, "Endubsar, offspring of Adapa, I have chosen you to be my scribe, that you might write down my words on the tablets." And all at once there appeared a glowing in one part of the enclosure, and I saw a place arranged like a scribal workplace. a scribe's table, and a scribe's stool, and there were finely shaped stones upon the table. But I saw no clay tablets, nor containers of wet clay. And there lay upon the table only one stylus, and it glistened and glowed as no reed stylus ever has. And the voice spoke up again, saying, Endabsar, son of Eridu, my faithful servant, I am your lord Enki. I have summoned you to write down my words, for I am much distraught by what has befallen mankind by the great calamity. It is my wish to record the true course of these events, to let gods and men alike know that my hands are clean. Not since the great deluge has such a calamity befallen the earth, the gods, and the earthlings. But the great deluge was destined to happen. Not so for the great calamity. This one, 7 years ago, need not have happened. It could have been prevented. And I, Enki, did all I could to prevent it. But alas, I failed. And was it fate or was it destiny? In the future shall it be judged. For at the end of days, a day of judgment there shall be. On that day the earth shall quake, and the rivers shall change course. And there shall be darkness at noon, and a fire in the heavens at night. The day of the returning celestial God it will be. And who shall survive, and who shall perish? Who shall be rewarded, and who shall be punished? Gods and men alike, on that day it shall be discovered. For what shall come to pass by what had passed shall be determined. And what was fated, and only by the heart's will occurring for good or ill, shall for judgment come. It is for this reason that I will tell the true account of the beginnings, and of the prior times, and of the olden times. For in the past the future lies hidden. For 40 days and 40 nights shall I speak, and you will write. 40 shall be the count of the days and the nights of your task here. For 40 is my sacred number among the gods. For 40 days and 40 nights you shall neither eat nor drink. Only this once of bread and water shall you partake, and it shall sustain you for the duration of your task. And the voice paused, and all at once there appeared a glowing in another part of the enclosure, and I saw upon it a plate and a cup. And I rose up hitherto, and there was bread on the plate, and water in the cup. And the voice of the great Lord Enki spoke again, saying, Endabsar, eat the bread, and drink the water, and thus be sustained for 40 days and 40 nights. And I did as directed, and thereafter the voice directed me to sit myself down at the scribal table, and the glowing there intensified. I could see neither door nor aperture where I was, yet the glowing was as strong as the midday sun. And the voice spoke again. Endabsar, the scribe, what do you see? And I looked and saw the glowing rays upon the table, and the stones, and the stylus. And I said, I see stone tablets, and their hue is blue as pure as the sky. And I see a stylus such as I have never seen before, its stem unlike any reed, and its tip shaped like an eagle's talon. And the voice said, These are the tablets upon which you shall inscribe my words. By my wish they have been cut from the finest lapis lazuli, each with 2 smooth faces provided. And the stylus you see is a god's handiwork, its handle made from electrum, and its tip of divine crystal. It shall fit firmly into your hand, and what you shall engrave with it shall be as easy as marking upon wet clay. In 2 columns you shall inscribe the front face, and in 2 columns you shall inscribe the back of each stone tablet. Do not deviate from my words. And there was a pause, and I touched one of the stones, and the surface thereof felt like a smooth skin, soft to the touch. and I picked up the holy stylus, and it felt like a feather in my hand. And then the great god Enki began to speak, and I began to write down his words exactly as he spoke them. At times his voice was very strong, and at times almost a whisper. At times there was joy or pride in his voice. At other times, pain or agony. And when the final words were spoken, the great God paused, and I could hear a great sigh. And he said, "Endabsar, my servant, for 40 days and 40 nights you have faithfully recorded my words. Your task here is now completed. Now take hold of another tablet, and on it you shall write your own attestation, and at the end thereof, as a witness, mark it with your seal. And take the tablet and put it together with the other tablets in the divine chest. For at a designated time chosen ones shall come hither, and they shall find the chest and the tablets, and they shall learn all that I have dictated to you, and that true account of the beginnings and the prior times and the olden times and the great calamity shall henceforth be known as the words of the Lord Enki. And it shall be a book of witnessing of the past, a book of foretelling of the future. For the future in the past lies, and the first things shall also be the last things." And there was a pause, and I took the tablets and I put them one by one in their correct order in the chest. And the chest was made of acacia wood, and it was inlaid with gold on the outside. And the voice of my Lord said, "Now close the chest's cover and fasten its lock. And as for you, Endabsar, with the great God you have now spoken. And though you have not seen me, in my presence you have been. Therefore you are blessed, and my spokesman to the people you shall be. You shall admonish them to be righteous, for in that lies a good and long life. And you shall comfort them, for in 70 years the cities will be rebuilt, and the crops shall sprout again. There will be peace, but there will also be wars. New nations will become mighty. Kingdoms shall rise and fall. The olden gods shall step aside, and new gods shall decree the fates. But at the end of days, destiny shall prevail. And of that future it is foretold in the words about the past. Of all of that, Endabsar, to the people you shall tell." And there was a pause and a silence, and I, Endabsar, bowed to the ground and said, "But how will I know what to say?" And the voice of Lord Enki said, "The signs will be in the heavens, and the words to utter shall come to you in dreams and in visions. And after you there will be other chosen prophets, and in the end there will be a new earth and a new heaven, and for prophets there will be no more need." And then there was silence. The auras were extinguished, and the spirit left me. And when I regained my senses, I was once again in the fields outside of Eridu. Seal of Endabsar, Master Scribe. And now the words of Enki, as written on the ancient tablets. He begins by addressing the state of Sumer after the evil wind or nuclear fallout from the atomic bombing of the spaceport in the Sinai, as well as Sodom and Gomorrah totally devastated it. "These are the words of the Lord Enki, firstborn son of Anu, who reigns on Nibiru. With heavy spirit I utter laments. Laments that are bitter fill my heart. How smitten is the land, its people delivered to the evil wind, its stables abandoned, its sheepfolds emptied. How smitten are the cities, their people piled up as dead corpses, afflicted by the evil wind. How smitten are the fields, their vegetation withered, touched by the evil wind. How smitten are the rivers, nothing swims anymore. Pure sparkling waters turned into poison. Of its black-headed people, Sumer is emptied. Gone is all life. Of its cattle and sheep, Sumer is emptied. Silent is the hum of churning milk. In its glorious cities, only the wind howls. Death is the only smell. The temples whose heads arose to heaven by their gods have been abandoned. Of lordship and kingship, command there is none. Scepter and tiara are gone. On the banks of the two great rivers, once lush and life-giving, only weeds grow. No one treads the highways. No one seeks out the roads. Flourishing Sumer is like an abandoned desert. How smitten is the land, once home to gods and men. On that land a calamity fell, one unknown to man, a calamity that mankind had never seen before, one that could not be withstood. On all the lands from west to east, a disruptive hand of terror was placed. The gods in their cities were as helpless as men. An evil wind, a storm born in a distant plain, a great calamity wrought in its path. A death-dealing wind, born in the west, its way to the east has made, its course set by fate. A storm as devouring as the great deluge, by wind and not by water, a destroyer. By poisoned air, not tidal waves, overwhelming. By fate, not destiny, was it engendered. The great gods in their council, the great calamity had caused. By Enlil and Ninhursag, it was permitted. I alone for a halt was beseeching. Day and night to accept what the heavens decree, I argued to no avail. Ninurta, Enlil's warrior son, and Nergal, my very own son, poisoned weapons in the great plain, then unleashed. That an evil wind would follow the brilliance we knew not. They now cry in agony. That the death-dealing storm, born in the west, its course to the east did make, who could foretell? The gods now bemoan. In their holy cities the gods stood disbelieving, as the evil wind toward Sumer made its way. One after another the gods fled their cities, their temples abandoned to the wind. In my city of Eridu, as the poison cloud approached, I could do nothing to stop it. Escape to the open steppe to the people I gave instructions. With Enki, my spouse, the city I did abandon. In his city Nippur, the place of the bond of heaven and earth, Enlil could do nothing to stop it. The evil wind against Nippur was advancing. In his celestial boat, Enlil and his spouse hurriedly took off. In Ur, Sumer's city of kingship, Nanar to his father Enlil cried for help. In the place of the temple that to heaven in 7 steps rises, Nanar, the hand of fate, refused to heed. My father who begot me, great God who to Ur had granted kingship, turn the evil wind away, Nanar pleaded. Great God who decrees the fates, let Ur and its people be spared, your praises to continue, Nanar pleaded. Enlil answered his son Nanar, noble son, to your wondrous city kingship was granted. Eternal reign it was not granted. Take hold of your spouse Ningal and flee the city. Even I, who decree fates, its destiny I cannot bend. Thus did my brother Enlil speak. Alas, not a destiny it was. A calamity, none greater since the great flood to both gods and earthlings has befallen. Alas, not a destiny it was. The great deluge was destined to happen. The great calamity of the death-dealing storm was not. By the breach of a vow, by a council's decision, it was caused. By weapons of terror, it was created. By a decision, not by destiny, were the poisoned weapons unleashed. By deliberation was the lot cast. Against Marduk, my firstborn, did the two sons direct the destruction. Vengeance was in their hearts. Ascendancy is not Marduk's to grasp, Ninurta shouted. With weapons I shall oppose him. In the council of the great gods, words of venom were spread. Both day and night I raised my opposing voice. Peace I counseled, deploring haste. Ningazita Thoth, my very son, other signs of heaven cited. His heart I knew Marduk's injustice to him could not forgive. Nanar, to Enlil on earth born, was unrelenting too. Marduk, my temple in the north city, his own abode made, he said. Ishkur, Enlil's youngest, demanded punishment. In my lands to whore after him the people he made, he shouted. Utu, son of Nanar, at Marduk's son Nabu shouted, the place of the celestial chariots he tried to seize. Inanna Ishtar, twin sister of Utu, was also furious. The punishment of Marduk for the killing of her beloved Dumuzi she still demanded. Ninhursag, mother of gods and men, her gaze diverted. Why is Marduk not here, she said. Jebel, my own son, with gloom replied, Marduk has all entreaties put aside. By the signs of heaven his supremacy he claims. Only with weapons will Marduk be stopped, Ninurta shouted. Utu Shamash was concerned about protecting the place of the chariots. In Marduk's hands it must not fall, he cried. Nergal, lord of the lower domain, ferociously demanded, let the olden weapons of terror be used to obliterate him. At my own son I gazed in disbelief. For brother against brother, the weapons of terror have been forsworn. Instead of consent, there was silence. In the silence, Enlil opened his mouth, saying, punishment there must be. Like birds without wings, the evildoers shall be. Marduk and Nabu are depriving us of our heritage. Let them be deprived of the place of the celestial chariots. Let the place be scorched to oblivion, Ninurta shouted, and let it be me who does it. Excited, Nergal stood up and shouted, let the evildoers' cities also be destroyed. The sinning cities let me obliterate. Let the Annihilator be my name thereafter. The earthlings whom we created must not be harmed, I stated forcibly. The righteous must not perish along with the sinners. Ninhursag, my creating helpmate, agreed. This matter is between the gods alone to settle. The people must not be harmed. Anu, monitoring the discussions from his celestial abode, then spoke. Let the weapons of terror be used this once. Let the spaceport be obliterated, but let the people be spared. Enlil then announced, let Ninurta the Scorcher be. Let Nergal be the Annihilator. To them the secret of the gods I shall reveal. The hiding place of the terror weapons, to them I shall disclose. Then the two sons, one mine, one his, to his inner chamber Enlil did summon. Nergal averted his gaze from me as he passed by. Alas, I cried out, brother has turned against brother. Are the prior times fated to be repeated? A secret from the olden times to them Enlil was revealing, the weapons of terror to their hands entrusting. Clad with terror, with a brilliance they are unleashed, and all they touch is turned to dust. Now the oath was undone, like a broken jar in useless pieces. The two sons, full of glee, then departed Enlil's chamber. For the weapons of terror they departed. The other gods returned to their cities, unaware of the approaching calamity to come. And that is where I will leave you for this episode. You have quite a lot to digest there, and we have so much more to cover and learn. I'm Mad Mark, and I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed this episode. If so, please like, share, and comment. It helps so much. And please tell your friends and help spread the word about this show. If you have any questions regarding the content discussed on this program, just message me through madmarktv.com or on any of my social media platforms. Lastly, I would like to remind everyone that listening to this program is no excuse to not read the book that we have been discussing here, The Lost Book of Enki by Zecharia Sitchin. It is an amazing work, and I am leaving out much information in order to keep the show flowing properly, so do yourselves a favor and read that book. Who Are the Aliens? The History of the Anunnaki on Planet Earth is written and produced by me, Mad Mark. Today we have taken another step in our ongoing journey to discover the truth. I promise you that things will get more and more interesting the further we delve into this topic of who are the aliens, the history of the Anunnaki on planet Earth. Bye for now. You've been listening to Who Are the Aliens? The History of the Anunnaki on Planet Earth with your host, Mad Mark. Join us again on our next program when Mad Mark will once again uncover the answers to the mysteries that puzzle mankind.